Bhutani bhavyani janardanasya Janasya Krishna vimukhasya devad Adharmasilasya sudukshitasya Anugrahaye hacharanti nunam Bhutani bhavyani janardanasya Janasya Krishna vimukhasya devad Adharmasilasya sudukhitasya Anugrahaye hacharanti nunam Bhutani bhavyani janardanasya. Do you want to read as well? Oh, there's nothing to read. You.
Charanti nuna bhutani bhavyani janardanasya. Janasya Krishna vimukhasya devad
Janasya Krishna vimukhasya devad Adharmasilasya sudukhitasya Anugrahaye hacharanti nunam Bhutani bhavyani janardanasya. It's pretty good. Thank you. Please repeat word for word. Janasya, of the common man. Krishnat, from the Supreme Lord Krishna. Vimukhasya, of the one who has turned his face against the Lord. Devat, by the influence of external energy. Adharmasilasya, of one who is engaged in irreligion. Sudukhitasya, of one who is always unhappy. Anugrahaya, due to being compassionate towards them. Iha, in this world. Charanti, wonder. Nunam, certainly. Bhutani, persons. Bhavyani, great philanthropic souls. Janardanasya, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. O my Lord, great philanthropic souls travel on the earth on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to show compassion to the fallen souls who are averse to the sense of subordination to the Lord. Purport. To be obedient to the wishes of the Supreme Lord is the natural position of every living entity. But due only to past misdeeds, a living being becomes averse to the sense of subordination to the Lord and suffers all the miseries of material existence. No one has anything to do but render devotional service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Therefore, any activity other than transcendental loving service to the Lord is more or less a rebellious action against the Supreme Will. All fruitive activity, empiric philosophy, and mysticism are more or less against the sense of subordination to the Lord. And any living entity engaged in such rebellious activity is more or less condemned by the laws of material nature, which work under the subordination of the Lord. Great unalloyed devotees of the Lord are compassionate towards the fallen, and therefore they travel all over the world with the mission of bringing souls back to Godhead, back to home. Such pure devotees of the Lord carry the message of Godhead in order to deliver the fallen souls, and therefore the common man who is bewildered by the influence of the external energy of the Lord should avail himself of their association. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurvai Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you for coming for the Wednesday morning Bhagavatam class. So we have a very interesting purport and translation which talks about traveling Sankirtan, which is very good for someone, a preacher, to talk about. So we'll just discuss this beautiful purport that Prabhupada mentions. We all know the famous verse mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koe, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. That means that just by a little association of a great devotee of Krishna, or a pure devotee of Krishna, one can get the highest result with just a little second of association. So it's a very deep purport. It's a very deep meaning behind this sentence, because when Lord Chaitanya was running around the lands of earth, just by looking at Lord Chaitanya, people would become elevated. People would become pure devotees, because that's why he came here. That's what he appeared to do, to give love of Krishna. He didn't consider who is fallen, or who is a Brahmana, or who's a Shudra, or who's a great person, who's a scholarly person, who is the richest person. He did not do any such considerations. All he did was give Krishna Prem to everyone. So sometimes people wonder, sometimes people come to ISKCON and they wonder, there will be a lot of divisions, there will be a lot of discriminations, because I come from this background, these Western people come from this background, they have no qualification, but that's not our movement, So if someone who knows what the Hare Krishna movement is, they will know that's not the point of our movement. Prabhupada's mission, when he started, was to make the whole world Krishna conscious, tell the whole world about the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna. He could have said, oh, I'm a first class Brahmana, I just stay in Vrindavan during my last final 20 years and just stay there and just chant Hare Krishna and go back to Godhead. Prabhupada could have easily said that, he could have easily taught that. But that's not what the Parampara suggests we should do, because we come from a disciplic succession, if coming straight from Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya till his very last breath was preaching, telling everyone to chant Hare Krishna, so that's what Lord Chaitanya started. And then it went to all the devotees, Every devotee in the Parampara just followed the same order, same instruction. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was also preaching the same philosophy of chant Hare Krishna, please, to everyone. Non-sect, no divisions in the society. Just the only division is person who chants Hare Krishna and person who doesn't chant Hare Krishna. So the one who's chanting Hare Krishna should chant more Hare Krishna to improve their quality of Hare Krishna. And the person who's not chanting Hare Krishna should associate with people chanting Hare Krishna, so they can also start chanting Hare Krishna. That's the only division that there is in the movement. So this is a wonderful opportunity for us to take part in such great movement. And how can one do that? Prabhupada mentions in the translation, it is mentioned that there are devotees traveling around, great devotees of the Lord. One should take shelter. Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan Ki Jai. So one should take shelter of these pure devotees, even for a little second. We have many visiting sannyasis that come to ISKCON centers around the world. Great traveling souls who have full knowledge and full qualified and full wisdom to pass on the message of Lord Chaitanya. Explain it in a way that we can understand. Because in Kali Yuga, one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga is that we are not very sharp. Our intelligence is very weak, is very, very slow in understanding spiritual knowledge. A lot of people say that, in your Vedic terminology, there's discrimination between women and men. With them, you will see they may or may not have the full qualification or the knowledge to function as a Brahmana, because they may be engaged in Shudra activity. So you can never tell in Kali Yuga what's true and what's false. The only way you can tell is when you see the symptoms, when you know what the symptoms of pure devotional service are, and then you experience by associating with people who have you can tell, If a person wants to cheat it, if a person wants to be cheated, he will find a guru that he will be cheated from. Because many times we have in India, there's so many gurus. There's a gazillion gurus in India. On every street there is a Baba or a guru, or a saintly person. Every street in India, you got, just like we have rubbish bins in Sydney, every street has one. There's every gurus. But a person, what is the definition of a guru? Once John Lennon, or one of the Beatles member asked Prabhupada, how do I know if a guru is bona fide? How can I tell? It's mentioned in the book called Science of Self-Realization. It is mentioned that someone asked John Lennon, I think it was John Lennon, asked Prabhupada, how could I tell if the guru is a bona fide teacher? Prabhupada said, that's a very interesting question. Very beautiful question. Very important question. The way you can tell if a guru is bona fide is to see how attached is he to Krishna. That's how you can tell how bona fide a guru is. So if you see a guru that hardly talks about Krishna, has got nothing to do with Krishna, you can tell that guru is not a devotee of the Supreme Lord. So his knowledge will also be based on sense gratification. The good knowledge he will impart on you will also be based on sense gratification. So this is an interesting point. Because a devotee of the Supreme Lord is not doing anything for his personal pleasure. Because if someone is a pure devotee of the Lord, his only objective and goal is to please the Supreme Lord in any way possible. That's why we read Srimad Bhagavatam. There's so many examples in Srimad Bhagavatam. We have Prahlad Maharaj, who is known as the most saintly person, the greatest, the most exalted devotee. Why is that? He's a 5-year-old kid. How much does a 5-year-old kid should know? Who's the Supreme Lord? We remember that when the first kid ever born in ISKCON was Saraswati, the first child born in ISKCON. And she was like very young, she was running around, and Prabhupada, with great reporters, great people, scholarly people, he would be talking, and he will just look up to Saraswati and call Saraswati, Saraswati, who is Krishna? And she will say, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even a little kid in ISKCON would know the value of Krishna, the level of Krishna. So this is what we should do. We should know, we should read these books. Prahlad Maharaj, such a great example. What did he do? He was born in a demoniac family. His father was the greatest demon ever existed. The greatest. So imagine the worst person in Kali Yuga and being born to that father. How much troublesome that can be. We say, because often we say, if you associate with a person like, low quality and demoniac, so you feel demoniac too. So Prahlad Maharaj is a great devotee of the Lord. Was born in a family of that, with a demoniac father. And he wasn't even present there when Prahlad Maharaj was born. So he was on traveling, conquering material possessions, getting all the material success, getting all the opulence from Brahma. He went on great austerities, to become the top person to conquer the whole world. So that was his mission in life, So when Prahlad Maharaj grew up a little, 5-year-old became 5-year-old, amazing things happened. Once his father called him, please come, my child, and put him on his lap and said, "So, what are you learning in school these days?" Shri Srila Gopinath ki jai. What are you learning in school these days? Eh? And what did Prahlad Maharaj said? He said he started glorifying devotional service. He started glorifying Vishnu. And Hiranyakashipu, who's a great demon, who is total against the supremacy of Vishnu, was like, "Who is teaching you all this? Where is you?" Then he calls his teachers, like, bring me his teachers. So he just started chastising the teachers. "What have you been teaching to my child? All this asampradaya philosophy of a demoniac, so asampradaya. If someone's talking about demoniac, it becomes totally opposite to what they should be learning. So what have you been teaching to my child?" And the teachers were like amazed. They're like, "That's not what we've been teaching. I don't know where he's learning all that from." And Prahlad Maharaj gets chastised for that. And what happens? His father gets very angry. Because sometimes when we have envy towards Supreme Lord, we become very angry when we hear glorification of the Supreme Lord. If you're a Sankirtan devotee, you can witness that firsthand on the streets. Sometimes I go on book distribution, try to tell them about Krishna, and envious people of Krishna, they just take it their life and mission to make this person go away. I cannot stand this person. Even though I'm not dealing with that person, they would still, do everything in their power to make a devotee suffer. Because they're envy of the Supreme Lord. And when envy is strong, is built in strong, envy is like rooted right to the heart, to the root of the heart. So it's become a very dangerous position for a person. Because then he doesn't see what's right, what's wrong, what's family, what's enemy, nothing matters. It's just, because envy doesn't only mean that I want what you have. Envy means that I want you to go down. I want you to suffer, So that's why we try not to become envious of other people, Because this is one main trouble of envy. When envy is in the heart, one cannot chant the holy name of Hare Krishna. Or one cannot even take the shelter of Hare Krishna, what to speak of chanting the glorious names of Krishna. So we should try to be non-envious. We should try to push our life in such a way, build our life in such a way that we are slowly by slowly demolishing, that's the right word to use, demolishing envy. So we can take shelter more and more of the Supreme Lord. And I asked someone once, I asked a senior devotee, what is the cure for envy? How do we cure envy in the heart, which has been rooted in the material existence? Because everyone has got that in Kali Yuga. If you're born in Kali Yuga, you're born with envy, most likely. So how do we diminish that? And he said the only way to do it is by sincerely chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sincerely chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Yes, there is a lot of envy in the heart. Yes, there is. But you can't do anything about it. So just keep chanting Hare Krishna. One day the envy will slowly disappear. Because it's a purifying process. The whole process of bhakti yoga is to clean the heart, which is full of material dust. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, in the minds of those who are too attached to material opulence, the resolute determination for devotional service does not take place. So Prabhupada translated very beautifully. He said resolute determination. Like not just determination. If you use the word determination in itself is a very strong word. But he says resolute determination for devotional service does not take place. And the only way to please Krishna and get to Krishna is through devotional service. Which we all know, right? So if one is not free of material desires, it's not possible to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. So that's why we should chant Hare Krishna. And chanting may not necessarily be pure from the very beginning. There's different stages of chanting. First there's offensive chanting that we are making because we are still bringing a lot of baggage of our material karmic baggage. So the chanting may not be pure in the very beginning, but we all know the glories of chanting Hare Krishna. It's just someone who's just chanted Hare Krishna once has achieved the greatest result, like a Jamil example, just chanted Narayan once, even though he was thinking of his child, whose name was Narayan. He only chanted Narayan and he got the highest result. He got a great benediction. He got to become a devotee very soon, because you've chanted offenselessly. Even though he's committed so many sins in his life that were all neglected, because he chanted the name of Lord Hari. So that's what we should do. Just by chanting it once. But one should not think, I should only chant once then. I shouldn't chant all day. No point chanting 16 rounds if I can get the same result just by chanting one round, or just maybe one time, Hare Krishna, that's it. No more, do it in the next lifetime now. So we shouldn't think like that. Because the whole point of the Shastra is to teach us, if just by doing once you can receive this result, imagine what can happen if you're chanting sincerely throughout your life. Because the ultimate goal is to get prema bhakti, get prema, love for Krishna. That is the highest goal. And to get there, it takes time. You can't just go to a street, look at a person and say, I love this person, I'll do anything for this person. It takes time to develop that love and connection with that person. So with Krishna, it's also like that. Krishna is not forcing. And Prahlad Maharaj, who's a great saintly person, he's preaching at 5-year-old kid is preaching to his other fellow kids the glories of taking shelter of the Supreme Lord Krishna, how to become a great devotee. And then his father, being so envious and so full of hate and anger, tries to kill his own son. What father tries to kill his own son? In Kali Yuga it's quite common. If you read newspapers, you will see there's always some father or mother trying to kill their own children. But because this is Kali Yuga, but it's expected in Kali Yuga, this sort of activity. But imagine, what good father would ever try to kill his own son? No matter how bad the situation is, what father would kill his own child? So just think about who would kill another person. Forget about killing a child, consuming another life. What good human being would like to consume another life? Yeah? A lot of people would say, killing, you're not allowed to kill another man. You're not allowed to take another life. It's very wrong, it's sinful. Then what about the animals? What about their life? Who cares about their life? They're just food for us, Slaughtering someone's head for food is not classified normal. Krishna says, Krishna has given us, provided us with grains and, all vegetarian options, milk. So this should not be slaughter. Why need to slaughter? What's the need? Because of the tongue, of the desire of the tongue to eat flesh, which is not very good. So we should try to be humble. How can we become humble and sincere if we are consuming a life, torturing someone? Because that's all karma, will come back. What goes around will come around to get you. So we should try not to engage in the sinful activities and try to sincerely take shelter of the association of devotees. So Prahlad Maharaj, who's being tortured, in different ways, he was fed to the snakes, the most poisonous snakes you can imagine. He was fed to the snakes, but still nothing happened. He was thrown off a big hill. He was thrown off a big hill, but he still didn't die. Nothing happened. He was smiling instead throughout the program. These demons, these great demoniac servants of the king are trying to kill Prahlad Maharaj, and Prahlad Maharaj is just chanting Hare Krishna and smiling peacefully, taking shelter of Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And these demons are wondering what's wrong with this guy. 5-year-old kids cry anyway. Forget about giving them suffering. A 5-year-old kid would cry normally. Just like if you take something from him, he'll cry. And if we're giving him so much pain and suffering, he's still not crying. He's not feeling any pain because he's being protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, after all his efforts of Hiranyakashipu, he asks Prahlad, what is going on, son? Why? Because he's bewildered, he's trying to kill someone with so much opulence and so much power that he has. He's failed to kill his own son. And everyone's just bewildered and like, what's going on? And then he knows, because he's a devotee, maybe there's someone protecting him. So he asks Prahlad, where is this Supreme Lord of yours? Bring him to me. Why can't I see him? Is he present in this pillar? And then Prahlad, yes, he's present everywhere. He's omnipresent. He's everywhere, in the heart of every living entity, and everything. He's present. That's the Supreme Lord Krishna. He's like, all right, I'll break the pillar. He broke the pillar, and who came? Lord Nrsimhadev appeared from that pillar and destroyed Hiranyakashipu totally. But Hiranyakashipu also, we just heard from Ramai Maharaj when he was here, talking in the glorious appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev, how the whole pastime. So we won't go deep in that pastime, but we'll just focus on the topic here. The point is that if you are sincere in your bhakti, Krishna will protect you. Krishna will give you all protection only if you're sincere. If you have some personal gains or some personal goals, Krishna will take them away and bring you to bhakti. They say Krishna fulfills all desires. Yes, Krishna will always fulfill all desires, but in such a way that you don't desire that again. So we should try to be careful what we desire. So for a devotee, the only desire is to seek shelter of a pure devotee, is to be in the association of devotees. We know from Bhagavatam, we know the story of Vritrasura, who's a great demon, who was born to destroy Indra, kill Indra. But because in his previous life, he was a great devotee as well. Just by a little mistake, he got cursed to appear as demon, and then he appeared as demon. Vritrasura, great. It's such a beautiful story of Vritrasura, And Vritrasura is in his perfectly enlightened stage is teaching us. There's a beautiful verse in a 6th canto that we will come across. I'll just read it out loud, because how beautiful that verse is. Just by reading that verse, one feel very pure. It's like one of my favorite verses. So let's see if I can find it somewhere. Yeah. So this is the verse, pay attention to this one. That's what Vritrasura is saying in the perfectly enlightened stage. He's talking, "Oh my Lord, my Master, I am wandering throughout this material world as a result of my fruitive activities. Therefore I simply seek friendship in the association of your pious and enlightened devotees. My attachment to my body, wife, children and home is continuing by the spell of your external energy, but I wish to be attached to them no longer. Let my mind, my consciousness and everything I have be attached only to you." This is a beautiful, one of my personal favorite texts in Bhagavatam, where Vritrasura is teaching us in the perfect enlightened stage the power of the association of devotees. Because there's many divisions, there's many discriminations, you are different color, different caste, different religion, but what's the point of all that? We should instead see this person is a great devotee of Krishna, he's a great devotee of Krishna, she's a great devotee of Krishna. Maybe I should learn something from them, so I can also become a little devotee of Krishna. So this is the goal of life, is to seek friendship in the association of devotees. Because everyone needs friends, If you want to succeed in life, because we are humans, we are social beings, We need to have association. We need to be around people. If we're not going to take shelter of devotees, we're going to take shelter of non-devotees. But we will take shelter of someone. So instead we recommend, that's why Prabhupada set up temples around the world. So people can go, devotees around the world can take shelter of other devotees throughout the, when we had festival. So many, thousands of people came in. When you see Janmashtami, so many people come in. So many devotees come to take shelter of the association of other devotees who may not, because it's a busy life, have to make money, have to survive. So time to time we go, take shelter. Prabhupada said Mayapur is the headquarters. When he set Mayapur up, he said that devotees from all over the world, I want them to come to Mayapur and spend some time in Mayapur. Every year after year. Please come in Mayapur and take shelter. That's how Mayapur was set up initially. So devotees who are engaged in preaching all around the world can come to headquarters, to the holy place of Lord Chaitanya and take shelter of the association of the devotees in the holy place. So this is a very interesting point and a beautiful point that Prabhupada's mentioning in today, that we should try to seek shelter of pure devotees of Krishna rather than, just see my bhakti practice as my bhakti practice. I don't want to deal with anyone, Yeah, in the beginning, not everyone is a pure devotee. Neither am I, neither is anyone else, So it's a long process. So we should seek shelter and helping each other in this process so we can advance slowly and steadily in our Krishna consciousness. So I'll probably stop there, take some realizations or questions, see if we have anything to discuss more deeply.
Prabhu, I was just wondering about the point you mentioned, very good class, thank you so much, really appreciate it. Just going back to that Shringa Leela, and so when the devotees analysed the Shringa Leela, they found there's actually 10 chapters talking about Shringa Dev and Prahlad Maharaj.
Yeah.
And then you go to the Rasa Leela of the section and it's only 5 chapters. So why is there a situation where there's so much more content regarding the Shringadev and Prahlad Maharaj versus not versus, because they're not competing against each other. Then the Rasa Leela against is only 5 chapters, so why would that be?
Well, I'm not qualified to answer that question because my knowledge is very little when it comes to this. But yeah, what I would know is that Rasa Leela is a very confidential topic. And we are not purified to hear that. So even when you see Prabhupada would hardly go in the topics of these sacred topics, which are like only Ramananda Roy or Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, great devotees would discuss to Lord Chaitanya. And, so because not everyone is purified to hear that topic. Because when you hear these saintly, great, beautiful, highest topics in bhakti, sometimes, because if you're not purified, you see it as your sense gratification. You see it as like, I want this too. Because we are envious. As Prabhupada mentioned, we're all born with envy towards the Supreme Lord. So until the envy is fully gone, we cannot appreciate or relish these topics. But when the topics of Prahlad Maharaj and Nrsimhadev, Prahlad glorifying Nrsimhadev, pacifying Nrsimhadev, taking shelter of Nrsimhadev, that's something we can relate to or we can look up to. So, because once we are in that process of taking shelter, like Prahlad was taking shelter of Lord Nrsimhadev, having a conversation, and how Nrsimhadev was very happy with Prahlad, because no other devotee was able to pacify him. Prahlad was the only one able to pacify him, and then Lord Nrsimhadev respected Prahlad so much, try to give him benedictions. And what did Prahlad ask in return? The only benediction as one, please help these other people who are not able to take shelter of you. So these topics is to help us understand the love a devotee should have with the Supreme Personality of God. I don't know if that makes sense, but because the higher elevated topics we're not, because we are in that purifying stage, not in that glorifying stage. So from that purifying stage, we slowly will build up to that glorifying stage and reach up to that highest level, and then we'll be able to relish more deeply the topics, the highest topics Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I've also heard with the Sringadeva, it's more about Aishvarya, that war and reverence. And then in Radha Krishna, it's about sweetness.
Yeah.
As you said, if we don't have those qualifications, then perhaps we should stick to the Radha Sringa prayers and the Sringa Leela primarily. And if the devotees analyse what Srila Prabhupada spoke about most, and he was talking most about the Lama and the Sringa, that Leela more than anything else.
Yeah.
So it's really beautiful to come to that understanding. And then Prabhupada actually said, the Bhagavatam is like a rasgulla. Wherever you bite it,
Yeah.
it's all beautiful. It's sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very, thank you. It's a very beautiful line. Prabhupada always uses like these amazing lines to make us attract towards Bhagavatam. Because reading Bhagavatam is beautiful. I mean, initially we don't understand the value or importance, because we are not. Who reads books in Kali Yuga? Forget about it. I was speaking to someone the other day, this volunteer who's been coming to the temple. I was speaking to him, man. He said, I love reading books, man. I like reading different sorts of books. I'm like, have you read Bhagavatam? He's like, no, I don't read spiritual books. No, none of that. So the interest, this is a symptom of Kali Yuga, is that the interest in spiritual enlightenment is very poor. We're not automatically inclined. Yeah, I'll read books about IT that helps me grow spiritually, or no, materially. But books about spiritually, we'll see when time comes. When Krishna desires, we will read. That's what sometimes people argue. So we shouldn't think like that, because we know this is a cheating mentality. We should not conceive that mentality. Instead, we should conceive, by reading the book, I'll become purified, so I should take more shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Like I didn't want to read books either. When I joined the movement, I wasn't much of a reader. I hardly read my own university books. What to speak of reading books outside the university, So this is natural inclination, is not to read or, not to get knowledge. But when you understand the importance of enlightened people, you need to know that enlightenment the knowledge comes from the bona fide source. Otherwise, it's very dangerous. Unless you have the right knowledge, it becomes very dangerous. There was a famous guru, I'm not going to name who. You probably know when I give the example. The famous guru, there was in India right now, he's like a very famous guru. Someone asked him, you comment about Bhagavad Gita, but have you ever read Bhagavad Gita? Do you know what's in the book? And he said, I don't need to read Bhagavad Gita, I already know. So this is ignorance. How can you comment on something that you never even read? That's how you know you failed as a person. That's just ignorance. There's knowledge in ignorance. When you claim I have all the knowledge without even reading what's in the book, So we suggest people, instead of making judgments and arguments, just read first. Give it a go. And then do service, and Krishna will reveal. And Krishna says himself in Bhagavad Gita, the first step is to take shelter of an enlightened devotee, render service unto him, and then he will reveal. He will come to you. Because I have imparted knowledge unto him. So that's why we should just focus on getting the right knowledge. That's more important. Not try to concoct or make our own, opinions. Because when we start doing that, sometimes we get carried away and we start adding our own points and our own things in there, and then there's just sometimes the tracks go a bit off-road, so we should not do that. So we should just try to focus what we've been given. We've got a lot of books. If you have not seen, we have a big library full of books. You see that, and you take any random book and start reading, as Prabhu said, Prabhupada books are so amazing, not just Bhagavatam. Wherever you bite in Prabhupada's books, you'll see the real nectar anywhere. Even you can perfect question, perfect answer. It's such a beautiful book. I was speaking to someone. They just read one small book and they now want to become a full-time bhakti practitioner. I'm like, this is the glories of Prabhupada, because he has made it easy for us to access the nectar that can only be accessed in Bhagavatam and these big, great, by learned scholars, Anyone can access it now, even in the smallest books. Prabhupada has put nectar in there. So, yeah, thank you. Is there any other comments or something? Or we'll just stop here. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Jagat Guru Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bol. His Grace Mandraghosh Prabhu ki jai. Oh, that's when you're making that traveling Sankirtan.